Hello everyone and welcome or welcome back if it's not your first time here to the Library of Phoebe. Today is a stormy day. Well, actually, it hasn't stormed yet, but there's a severe thunderstorm warning as I'm filming this. So I figured what a great time to talk about books. The rain always makes me feel super bookish. And I lit a candle for atmosphere. It's behind you right now. You can't see it, but I can smell it. My beautiful new candle that I bought today. It's apple scented. Apple is like one of my all-time favorite scents. I either like things that are like crisp and fresh like apple, or I like things that are like really musky, like Lord of Misrule from Lush. I don't know if you guys have smelled that, but it's such a good scent. It's like my signature scent. If I'm going anywhere and I'm wearing perfume, it's probably gonna be Lord of Misrule by Lush. I feel like it fits my vibe really well too. But anyways, that was a tangent. We can kind of just get on to the books. So I did a bookshelf tour last week. If you want to watch that, I'll link it. But these are the books that I have bought since filming that bookshelf tour. So there's 8 of them. Some of them actually I didn't buy. They were just acquired through Free Little Libraries. And I kind of just wanted to keep you all updated on what is coming into my shelves. So without further ado, let's start with the book that came like right after I filmed my bookshelf tour. So that is Maggie, or A Man and Woman Walk into a Bar by Katie Yee. This is my book of the month book for July. And I am actually very, very interested in reading this one. Sometimes book of the month selections are like hit or miss for me, so I'll just skip a few months. But this one I saw and I knew I wanted to read it really bad because it just feels like it's speaking to me at the time of life I'm in. I'll read you what it says here about it. A man and a woman walk into a restaurant. It sounds like the start of a joke, or at the very least, like the start of a date. Instead, it's the end of a marriage. Because on this night, our unnamed narrator finds out her husband is having an affair with a white woman named Maggie. Here's another one. A woman walks into an examination room, but the ache in her breast isn't heartbreak, it's cancer. Over the course of the ensuing months, our narrator embarks on a journey of grief, healing, and reclamation. With her best friend Darlene by her side, she navigates the unfamiliar, new shape of her family, the complexities of parenting in the middle of a divorce, and most importantly, those annoyingly teeny tiny paper cups they have in doctors' offices. To cope, our narrator starts talking to her tumor. She creates The Guide to My Husband, a user's manual for her husband's lover. She turns her children's bedtime stories into retellings of Chinese folklore passed down by her own mother in an attempt to make them fall in love with their shared culture, and to maybe save herself in the process. It sounds like a really interesting read. It's super short too, like, let me check. Like 200 pages with acknowledgements. So it's one that I want to get to super soon too, because I feel like now is the time in my life that I should pick this up anyways. So hopefully by the end of July, if not maybe early August, I'll get to this one. Next 2 are the ones I got from the Free Little Libraries, and they're kind of like random picks. Well, one of them's less random, one of them's more random. So we'll start with the less random one, since it is Cat's Eye by Margaret Atwood. I've read Margaret Atwood before. I've read The Handmaid's Tale and The Testaments, and I have The Edible Woman on my TBR. But I saw this one, and it's like such a little cute mass market paperback copy of it. I was like, I might as well pick up this for free. And here is what it is about. Painter Elaine Risley, now at midlife, returns from Vancouver to Toronto, a city she fled many years earlier after the end of her first marriage. While attending a retrospective of her work being shown in the city of her birth, Elaine is obsessed with memories of her childhood and adolescence. Toronto is a city haunted by the presence of her family, the men she loved, and her enigmatic friend Cordelia. Past and present become one as Aline journeys from a desire to avenge the betrayals and cruelties of youth to acceptance of the experiences that have created her presence. Apparently I can't read today, which isn't good for talking about books and reading, but I hope you got the gist of it from that back description. So again, one I'm super interested in reading. Kind of just want to see how I feel about Margaret Atwood when it's not The Handmaid's Tale. I think I'll read it, this and The Edible Woman, through a very critical lens. Not necessarily like bad critical, just like keeping my critical thinking skills on. I don't know if it'll be a super priority. I think The Edible Woman will be more of a priority for me just because I've had that one on my TBR since I was in high school, actually. I've owned that book. So it's about time I get to that one. But this one is another really interesting pick that I think I will like. And if not, I will just rehome it into the Free Little Libraries. That's the gorgeous thing about Free Little Libraries. And it's another gorgeous thing is that sometimes you find the most random books ever. This one is called The Last Magician by Janette Turner Hospital. Hospital? Yeah. Janette Turner Hospital. I had never heard of this before, never even heard of this author before, but I saw it and the cover like kind of spoke to me. It seemed like the type of read, like I don't know, like it seems like a hot girl read, you know what I mean? Like for lack of better terms. So I was like, let me pick it up. Let me see how I like it because it's free. I can always just put it back in the little library for someone else to find if I read like 2 pages of it and already hate it. So this is what it is about. The Last Magician is internationally acclaimed author Janette Turner Hospital's 5th novel. Set in Australia, it is psychologically taut and unsettling, rich in imagery and language, and powerfully erotic. Hospital juxtaposes the forgotten world of Sydney's dark and cavernous district, the Quarry, against the lush rainforest landscape of Queensland. The highly charged world of memory against the hard edge of contemporary life. Half a lifetime ago, a boy was killed. It was called an accident, but 4 children shared the terrible secret of that death. They shared as well the knowledge that the one responsible will never be called upon to pay for it. Now, decades later, their lives and their paths collide once again. As the narrator moves in an ever-tightening circle back towards one long-ago summer in the rainforest, an intricate story is revealed. At the electric center is Lucy, a former private school student, later a prostitute, whose life becomes bound to the shared past and present-day lives of 4 people, and Charlie, a Chinese-Australian photographer and filmmaker who sets in motion an unraveling of the past. The Last Magician is about power and betrayal, sexual obsession, and social ostracism. It is about acts and their consequences, and the private terrors and luminous hopes within the secrets all of us collude in keeping. This is Janette Turner Hospital's finest work to date, a tour de force by a visionary writer. I hope I do love this one, even though I really know nothing about it other than what that description says. It has these deckled edges and French flaps. It's a very beautiful, beautiful edition, and she is an Australian author and now lives in Canada. So that's really interesting to me because I don't know, like I feel like I haven't read that much Australian literature at all. So this could be a fun little bite into it, as well as being Canadian lit, which I've been super loving lately. We'll get to, I think the last book that I hauled it's one that I've already read, and it's a Canadian literature thing, and I just absolutely adored it. 5 stars. So keep watching for that. The next 3 books I bought all at the same time. I went to my favorite thrift store for finding books, and they're way more than 3, but I was like, I'm gonna be sensible and I'm gonna only pick these 3 because I feel like I can't leave them behind. The other ones I was like, I'm sure I can find a copy again. I'm sure I can find maybe a better copy of this read, so I won't pick it up this time, even though I really want it. I'll stick to 3. These books were all like less than $3 too, so I was like, okay, 3 books I feel like is acceptable in that range. So, first is a book I already own and have already read, but a different, beautiful Penguin Deluxe Classics edition of it because I love the Penguin Deluxe Classics. I collect them, and that is The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. I have another copy in these editions that I love of Huckleberry Finn. This is what are these called? The Macmillan Pocket Editions. Love these ones. Very beautiful. And I do want to reread this. I'm not sure which edition I will reread it out of because I want to read James by Percival Everett, which when I did my bookshelf tour was the most recent book I had bought. This is a retelling set from the perspective of James instead of Huckleberry Finn. And I'm really interested in reading this. It's gotten so much booktube hype, and wow. The New York Times says it's 10 best books of 2024. It has National Book Award winner on it, so super interested into getting into this one. So it kind of just felt like a sign that I found this for cheap in an editions I collect, that I should reread it so I can read this. The next book I bought on this same little trip is Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman. This is like a big, beautiful, the modern library classics bind up of Leaves of Grass. Long poetry collective, but I believe one of my favorite poems is in this one. I haven't actually found it. There's a lot of stuff in these pages too. It's a funny thing about thrifting books. I'm just finding stuff in the pages. Oh, and I lost said stuff. Now I can't find it. Oh, it's a little bookmark. Cute. I'll go through and find everything that's in these pages once I start reading it. But Leaves of Grass, yes, one of my favorite poems is, what's it called? A Song of Myself, I think it is. It's the one that's like, I am large, I contain multitudes. If you know me in real life, you know that probably every single day I say something about containing multitudes because of this poem, because when I read it, I'm like, yes, I contain multitudes. There's so many different sides of me. I don't feel like I'm a book that can be judged by its cover, we'll say. So I feel really seen by that poem, and I kind of want to read some more Walt Whitman. I think I've read Little Black Classics. Walt Whitman. Give me 1 second. I'll be back in like 1 minute. I was right. I have read a Little Black Classics edition of Walt Whitman, On the Beach at Night Alone, which is some verses from Leaves of Grass, and this was some of my favorite poetry I read. I think I read it last year. Some of my favorite poetry I read then, like On the Beach at Night Alone is a really good one, and To You. Normally I don't really super connect with poetry, so I wouldn't buy a huge poetry anthology like this, but since I already know Walt Whitman is someone who sees me, who knows me, maybe like a Mary Oliver type situation where I'll finally I'll get the poetry. I'll feel it when I read it. I was happy to find a copy of Leaves of Grass, especially one so beautiful. I don't have any of these modern library editions, but I think they're gorgeous, so I'm so happy to finally have one. And they feel very quality too, which is good because this is a long book, over 700 pages, like 750-ish pages. So that will be a journey, but I don't like to rush myself with poetry, so it'll probably be one that I pick up after I'm done Devotions by Mary Oliver, and it'll just be one that I skim through as I feel the need for a poem. The last book I bought on that trip also felt like fate, because this is one I've had on like my Amazon wish list, and I've had just on my mental TBR, not my physical TBR, for a while, and it's one I really wanted to read this fall because I saw it on like a list of campus novels. And that is Lucky Jim by Kingsley Amis. This book says, Jim Dixon has accidentally fallen into a job at one of Britain's new red brick universities. A moderately successful future in the history department beckons. As long as Jim can survive a madrigal singing weekend at Professor Welch's, deliver a lecture on Merry England, and resist Christine, the hopelessly desirable girlfriend of Welch's awful son, Bertrand. I've heard this is like funny little novel, and it's set on campus, and I love to read campus novels in the fall. It always just gets me in the mood to get back to my own studies. So this is one I am really looking forward to, and it feels like just the universe was smiling on me this day to be like, hey, you don't have to buy a new copy. You can have a $3 copy in an edition that you love. The Penguin, these like Penguin Modern Classics, I think they are, but like the silver ones, I like the silver ones too. I have a bunch of the old blue ones, and then I have the like a few of the newer, like whatever this blue is, like the eggshell robin egg blue type deal. But I do love these silver ones. I think these are the older ones. I'm just so happy to have found this. Last fall I read Stoner as one of my campus novels, so I think this definitely, I don't think will be the same vibe as Stoner, but it will like fill that role that Stoner took last year. super, super interested in it. Okay, we're on to the second last book. I had a friend visiting this week and we visited a few bookshops together. One of them was my favorite secondhand bookstore in the city, and I found a book. Obviously, every time I go in there, I feel like I find a book. And then we also went to a comic book store, which is where the last book is from. But we'll start with the one I found at my favorite secondhand bookstore, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This is a book I've already read. I read it, when did I read it? 2023, I believe? The summer of 2023. But I didn't own a copy. I got it from the library. And I really liked it. I think I gave it 4 stars, and it's one that's kind of like stuck with me in my mind. So I was like, that's a sign. I should buy this copy when I see it for an affordable price at the used bookstore. I also just recently read V.E. Schwab's newest book, which is right there, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, and I really loved that as well. So it just felt like I think these 2 of V.E. Schwab's books are the only 2 I've read, I think, and they have the same energy. I might have read like a short story or something by V.E. Schwab, but these are the only 2 full-length novels. They have the same energy, and it's, I think, what I like best from V.E. Schwab. And this book definitely has reread potential for me. So I'll read to you what it is about. Never pray to the gods that answer after dark. France, 1714. In a moment of desperation, a young woman named Adeline meets a dangerous stranger and makes a terrible mistake. As she realizes the limitations of her Faustian bargain, being able to live forever without being able to be remembered by anyone she sees, Addie chooses to flee her small village, as everything she once held dear is torn away. But there are still dreams to be had, and a life to live, and she is determined to find excitement and satisfaction in the wide, beckoning world, even if she will be doomed to be alone forever. Or not quite, as every year on her birthday the alluring Luke comes to visit, checking to see if she's ready to give up her soul. Their darkly thrilling game stretches through the ages, seeing Addie witness history and fight to regain herself as she crosses oceans and tries on various lives. It will be 300 years before she stumbles into a hidden bookstore and discovers someone who can remember her name, and suddenly everything changes. It's such a good book, highly recommend, and I'm so grateful to now own a copy of it. And we've made it to the last book on this list. It is a book that I heard about thanks to Ariel from the Books Unbound podcast, I think it's called. I don't know. I love this podcast. I don't even know the name of it. With Ariel and Raylene. It is called It's a Good Life If You Don't Weaken, a picture novella by Seth. This is a Canadian author. He's actually from my area of Canada, and reading this, it was just like being seen. Oh my gosh, this is so good. It's also, the title is the name of a Tragically Hip song. I think the Tragically Hip song is actually named after this novella. Great song. Listen to that song if you don't know it. I feel like the Tragically Hip is really underrated outside of Canada, so if you're outside of Canada and you've never heard of the Tragically Hip, give It's a Good Life If You Don't Weaken a listen. It's like less than 5 minutes. You won't regret it, trust me. So this new edition presents Seth's first book in its definitive form, collecting the extensive, beautifully illustrated storyline from his popular comic book series, Palookaville. Here he vividly recounts his search for the meaning in the life and work of Callow, a forgotten gag cartoonist of the 1940s and 50s. This compulsive task takes him through stacks of crumbling books and magazines in the hope of finding and ultimately holding on to a piece of the past. With this remarkable novella, Seth has demonstrated the power of comics as a narrative form. The story unfolds slowly, opening windows into haunting scenes of old factories, remote towns, and distant train routes, taking us back on a voyage across both distance and time. I loved this so much. So much. I might do a little wrap-up where I talk about this a bit more in depth and my thoughts more in depth, but I think this was just beautiful, and I love it. We'll just say for the same reasons I love The Catcher in the Rye, I love this like graphic novella, and I'm so glad I bought it, even though I bought it new and I paid full price for it, which I don't do that often for books. This one I don't regret doing that for at all. I highly recommend. That is the last book. We got a good stack going here. Right here. Ah! How many books is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, 8. I think I said that at the beginning of the video. Thank you so much for watching this little book haul that I put together for you. And let me know if you've read any of the ones that I haven't read from this stack and what you think of them. I would love to know. I would love to have my expectations created before going into any of these books. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time on the Library of Phoebe.